Arrival and First Impressions. Commander Zalthar of the Galactic Confederation straightened his exoskeleton as the transport ship touched down on the landing pad. The acrid air of Earth, classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, seeped through his respirator, causing his antenna to twitch involuntarily. He'd heard stories about this backwater planet and its remarkably resilient inhabitants, but nothing could have prepared him for the assault on his senses. As the ship's ramp lowered, Zalthar steeled himself. He was here on a mission to evaluate the newly established joint training program between the Galactic Confederation and the United Earth Defense Force. It was a controversial initiative, one that many in the Confederation viewed as a waste of resources. After all, what could these primitive humans possibly teach the advanced races of the galaxy? A stocky human female in a crisp uniform approached as Zalthar disembarked. "Commander Zalthar, welcome to Earth. I'm Colonel Sarah Chen, Commandant of the United Earth Defense Force Academy. We're honored to have you here." Zalthar's translator implant conveyed her words, and he responded with what he hoped was a diplomatic tone. "The honor is mine, Colonel Chen. I look forward to observing your training methods." As they walked towards the academy buildings, Zalthar couldn't help but notice the diverse array of alien species mingling with human cadets. It was a sight he never thought he'd see. Proud Centauri warriors jogging alongside humans, telepathic Kuril engaged in animated discussions with their Earth counterparts. "I must admit, Colonel," Zalthar said, his compound eyes taking in the scene, "I'm surprised by the level of integration I'm witnessing. How do you manage to overcome the vast physiological and cultural differences?" Colonel Chen smiled, a gesture Zalthar had learned to recognize as friendly. "That's the beauty of it, Commander. We don't try to overcome our differences, we embrace them. Each species brings unique strengths to the table. Our goal is to learn from each other, to become stronger together than we ever could be apart." They entered the main academy building, a structure that seemed to blend advanced alien technology with rugged human architecture. Holographic displays showed battle simulations, while in another corner, a human instructor was demonstrating hand-to-hand combat techniques to a group of multi-species cadets. "This is certainly unexpected," Zalthar admitted. "I was under the impression that human military technology was far behind that of the Confederation." Colonel Chen's expression turned serious. "In some areas, yes, but technology isn't everything, Commander. Humans have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Living on a death world has taught us to be adaptable, to think outside the box. That's what we're trying to teach here." As if on cue, an alarm blared through the building. Cadets of all species immediately snapped to attention, moving with practiced precision towards designated areas. "What's happening?" Zalthar asked, his instincts on high alert. "Just a routine drill," Chen assured him. "Would you like to observe?" Before Zalthar could respond, the ground shook violently. This was no drill. Chen's comm device crackled to life, and a panicked voice came through. "Colonel, we've got a situation. The planetary defense grid is down, and we've detected multiple hostile ships entering the atmosphere." Chen's demeanor changed instantly, her casual friendliness replaced by steely determination. "Looks like you'll get to see us in action sooner than expected, Commander. I hope you're ready for a crash course in human resilience." Zalthar felt a mix of fear and excitement course through his body. This was not what he had signed up for, but a part of him was curious to see how these humans would handle a real crisis. As they rushed towards the command center, alarms blaring and cadets mobilizing around them, Zalthar couldn't help but wonder if he had underestimated these humans. The ease with which they shifted from peacetime training to crisis mode was impressive, to say the least. The command center was a hive of activity when they arrived. Holographic displays showed the approaching enemy ships, a motley fleet of pirate vessels from the look of them. Zalthar recognized the markings of several notorious factions. "Status report," Chen barked as she entered. A young human lieutenant responded promptly. "Ma'am, we've identified the hostile force as a coalition of pirate clans. They've somehow managed to temporarily disable our orbital defense grid. Ground-based defenses are operational, but may not be enough to repel this many ships. Chen nodded, her mind already racing through possibilities. What about our space assets? The UEDF fleet is engaged on the other side of the system, dealing with what we now believe was a diversionary attack. They won't make it back in time. Zalfar watched in fascination as Chen processed this information. He expected panic, maybe even resignation. Instead, he saw a glint of determination in her eyes. "All right, people, listen up." Chen's voice cut through the chaos of the command center. "We may be outgunned, but we're not out of this fight. Lieutenant Eng, activate Protocol Omega. Cadet Silith, I need you to use your species' telepathic abilities to coordinate our ground forces. Commander Zalfar, I hope you're ready to get your hands dirty." Zalfar was taken aback. I'm not sure what I can contribute, Colonel. I'm here as an observer." Chen fixed him with a steady gaze. "With all due respect, Commander, the moment those ships entered our atmosphere, everyone on this planet became a defender. Your tactical knowledge of Confederation technology could be invaluable." For a moment, Zalfar hesitated. This wasn't his fight. He could easily retreat to his ship, invoke diplomatic immunity. But as he looked around at the determined faces of humans and aliens working together, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of purpose. "Very well, Colonel," he said, straightening up. "What do you need from me?" A smile flickered across Chen's face. "That's the spirit, Commander. I need you to work with our tech team. If we can adapt some of our weapons with Confederation insights, we might just stand a chance." As Zalfar moved to join the frantically working tech team, he caught snippets of the orders Chen was issuing. She was mobilizing not just the Academy's military resources, but calling on civilian volunteers, repurposing training simulations into actual battle plans, and even utilizing the planet's harsh environment as a defensive asset. It was unlike anything Zalfar had seen in his long military career. The humans weren't just fighting. They were innovating on the fly, adapting to a situation that by all rights should have been hopeless. As the first enemy ships breached the lower atmosphere, their weapons blazing against the planet's defenses, Zalfar realized that his evaluation mission had turned into something far more significant. He wasn't just observing human military techniques anymore. He was about to witness firsthand why Earth, this unassuming Deathworld, had produced a species capable of standing alongside the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and despite the odds, Zalfar found himself filled with an unfamiliar emotion: hope. Cultural clash and combat drills. The command center of the United Earth Defense Force Academy had transformed into a war room. Holographic displays flickered with real-time battle data, while a cacophony of voices, human and alien alike, filled the air. Commander Zalfar found himself at the heart of this organized chaos, his exoskeleton's cooling systems working overtime to manage his stress. "Commander, we need options." Colonel Chen's voice cut through the noise. She was coordinating the ground defenses, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. "Those pirate ships are going to break through our outer defenses any minute now." Zalfar's compound eyes darted between the various screens. The pirates' attack pattern was unlike anything he'd seen before. A bizarre mix of advanced Confederation technology and crude, unpredictable maneuvers. It was causing havoc among the Earth's defense systems, which were calibrated for more conventional warfare. "Their formations are erratic," Zalfar observed. "It's as if they're improvising." A young human cadet piped up, "Like jazz musicians." Jazz musicians. Zalfar's translator implant struggled with the concept. "Yeah, making it up as they go along, but still following a basic structure," the cadet explained. Chen's eyes lit up. "That's it. Cadet, you're a genius. Commander Zalfar, can your people's tech adapt to unpredictable patterns?" Zalfar's antenna twitched in thought. "Not quickly, no. Our systems are designed for efficiency and predictability. But humans are great at unpredictability, Chen said with a grim smile. Lieutenant Eng, implement Protocol Jazz. Let's fight chaos with chaos. As the lieutenant rushed to comply, Zalfar watched in fascination as the human defenders began to shift their tactics. Instead of maintaining rigid formations, their ships started moving in seemingly random patterns, yet somehow maintaining a cohesive defense. Impressive, Zalfar admitted. But I don't see how this improves your situation. You're still outgunned. Chen's smile widened. Watch and learn, Commander. Cadet Tyleth. Now, the young Kuril cadet, their telepathic appendages glowing with effort, began to coordinate the movements of the human ships. Suddenly, the chaotic defense pattern coalesced into a devastating attack formation. Pirate ships, caught off guard by the sudden shift, began to fall to Earth's counterattack. By the cosmic egg, Zalfar breathed. You're using the Kuril's telepathy to coordinate tactics that are too unpredictable for the pirates to anticipate. Bingo, Chen said. We may not have the most advanced tech, but we know how to play to our strengths and the strengths of our allies. As the battle raged on, Zalfar found himself increasingly involved. His knowledge of Confederation technology proved invaluable in identifying weaknesses in the pirates' stolen ships. He worked alongside humans and aliens, all differences forgotten in the heat of battle. Hours passed in a blur of tactical decisions and narrowly avoided disasters. The pirate fleet, despite its superior numbers, was gradually being pushed back, but victory was far from assured. We've got a problem, Lieutenant Ing reported. A group of pirate ships has broken through. They're heading for the civilian centers. Chen's face hardened. We can't let them reach the cities. Auctions. Zalfar surprised himself by speaking up. What about your planet's natural defenses? Surely a Deathworld has environmental hazards we could use. A spark of inspiration flashed in Chen's eyes. The Thunderhead Mountains. Cadet Raxus, your species can withstand extreme electrical discharges, correct? The insectoid Zentari cadet clicked its mandibles in affirmation. Indeed, Colonel. We Zentari are naturally insulated against such forces. Perfect. Commander Zalfar, I hope you're ready for some extreme weather. We're taking this fight to the mountains. The next hour was a whirlwind of activity. Zalfar found himself aboard a human dropship, surrounded by a mixed team of human and alien cadets. As they approached the Thunderhead Mountains, he saw why they got their name. Massive storm clouds roiled around the peaks, flashes of lightning illuminating the turbulent skies. Our plan, Chen explained over the comm, is to lure the pirate ships into the mountains. The storms will play havoc with their systems. Cadet Raxus and his team will then board the ships and disable them from within. Zalfar's exoskeleton nearly locked up in shock. You're going to fly into that maelstrom. It's suicide. A human cadet next to him laughed. Welcome to Earth, Commander. We do 6 impossible things before breakfast here. As their ships entered the storm, Zalfar experienced terror like never before. Lightning crashed around them, wind buffeted the dropship, and for several heart-stopping moments, he was sure they would crash. But the human pilots navigated the chaos with an almost preternatural skill. The plan worked better than anyone could have hoped. The pirate ships, their systems scrambled by the intense electrical activity, were easy prey for the Earth defenders. Zalfar watched in awe as Zentari cadets leaped from their ships onto the pirate vessels, their natural insulation allowing them to traverse the lightning-wreathed hulls with ease. Within hours, the tide of the battle had turned decisively. The remaining pirate ships, faced with Earth's unexpectedly fierce and creative defense, began to retreat. As they flew back to the academy, battered but victorious, Zalfar found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about humans and their Deathworld. I must admit, Colonel, he said to Chen as they disembarked, I had my doubts about this joint training program. I thought we of the Galactic Confederation had little to learn from humans. I have never been so glad to be proven wrong. Chen clapped him on what passed for his shoulder, a gesture he now understood signified camaraderie. That's the spirit, Commander. We humans have a saying. The most valuable lessons are often the ones that challenge our preconceptions. As they walked back into the academy, Zalthar noticed something had changed. The human and alien cadets, who before had been politely distant, were now chatting animatedly, sharing battle stories, and congratulating each other. The shared experience of facing danger together had forged bonds that transcended species. You know, Zalthar said, his translator struggling to convey the mix of emotions in his voice. I came here to evaluate your training methods. I never expected to become part of them. Chen smiled. Well, Commander, your education has just begun. Tomorrow, we start rebuilding and improving our defenses, and something tells me you'll have plenty of insights to share. As the adrenaline of battle faded, replaced by the warm glow of victory and newfound respect, Zalthar realized that his mission had become something far more significant than a simple evaluation. He was no longer just an observer. He was a participant in one of the most ambitious cross-species collaborations in galactic history. And as he looked out at the Earth's sky, still tinged with the fading light of battle, he couldn't help but feel that the future of the galaxy might just depend on what was happening here, on this improbable Deathworld called Earth. Survival exercise on the Deathworld. The dawn broke over the United Earth Defense Force Academy, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Commander Zalthar stood at the window of his temporary quarters, marveling at the beauty of this dangerous world. It had been 3 days since the pirate attack, and the academy was buzzing with renewed energy and purpose. A chime at his door interrupted his reverie. Enter, he called out, turning to see Colonel Chen stride in, looking as alert and composed as ever. Good morning, Commander, she said briskly. I hope you're ready for a field trip. Zalthar's antenna twitched in curiosity. A field trip? I wasn't aware that was part of the agenda. Chen's lips curved into what Zalthar had come to recognize as her "this is going to be interesting" smile. Consider it an impromptu addition to your evaluation. We're taking a group of cadets out for a survival exercise. After the recent attack, we need to ensure that all our trainees, human and alien alike, can handle whatever this planet throws at them. An hour later, Zalthar found himself aboard a transport ship, surrounded by a diverse group of cadets. The ship hummed as it flew over vast stretches of Earth's wilderness, the landscape below shifting from dense forests to rugged mountains. Today's exercise, Chen announced, her voice carrying over the ship's intercom, is simple in concept, but challenging in execution. You'll be divided into mixed species teams and dropped at different locations. Your goal is to navigate to a central rendezvous point within 48 Earth hours, using only the basic survival gear provided and your wits. A murmur of excitement and apprehension rippled through the cadets. Zalthar felt his own anxiety rising. He was a military commander, not a survivalist, and certainly not one equipped for a death world. The ship began its descent, hovering over a particularly forbidding stretch of forest. Team Alpha, you're up first, Chen called out. Zalthar watched as a human, a Kuril, and a Zentari made their way to the exit ramp. Commander, Chen said, turning to him, I'd like you to join this team. Your perspective could be valuable. Zalthar's exoskeleton nearly locked up in surprise. Colonel, I'm not sure that's wise. I have no training for this kind of. Exactly, Chen interrupted with a grin. Sometimes the best way to understand is to experience. Don't worry, your team will look out for you. Before he could protest further, Zalthar found himself ushered to the exit ramp alongside his team. The human cadet, a stocky young woman named Rodriguez, gave him a reassuring nod. Ready for some fun, Commander? She asked, her tone light despite the challenging situation ahead. I'm not sure fun is the word I'd use, Zalthar replied dryly. The Kuril cadet, Sinta, their telepathic appendages twitching with excitement, chimed in. Think of it as a practical application of interspecies cooperation, Commander. With a whoosh, the exit ramp lowered, and Zalthar got his first up-close look at Earth's wilderness. The forest below was a riot of green, teeming with life and hidden dangers. The very air seemed alive, thick with moisture and the sounds of countless creatures. Last one down's a rotten egg. The Zentari cadet, Kraz, chittered before leaping from the ramp, his insectoid wings buzzing as he descended. Rodriguez laughed, grabbing a zip line. "Come on, Commander. Time to earn your Earth legs." Before he could reconsider, Zalthar found himself sliding down the line, the forest canopy rushing up to meet him. His exoskeleton sensors were going haywire, overwhelmed by the input from Earth's intense environment. As they regrouped on the forest floor, the transport ship already disappearing into the distance, reality set in. They were alone in one of the most dangerous environments in the galaxy, with limited supplies and a daunting task ahead. "Right," Rodriguez said, taking charge. "First things first, we need to get our bearings and find a water source. Kraz, can you get an aerial view?" The Zentari nodded, his compound eyes gleaming. With a buzz of wings, he rose above the canopy. Meanwhile, Cinta closed their eyes, telepathic appendages glowing softly. "I'm sensing a large concentration of simple minds that way," they said, pointing. "Likely a water source with fish or amphibians." Zalthar watched in fascination as the team naturally fell into roles that complemented their species' strengths. Rodriguez took point, her human adaptability and endurance setting the pace. Kraz provided reconnaissance from above, while Xinta's telepathic abilities warned them of potential dangers. As for Zalthar, he found himself in the unfamiliar role of student rather than leader. Every step through the dense undergrowth was a challenge, every sound a potential threat. Yet he couldn't deny the thrill of discovery that came with each new experience. They encountered their first major obstacle as dusk approached. A wide, swiftly flowing river blocked their path, its waters too dangerous to cross directly. "We could try to find a narrower point," Rodriguez suggested, wiping sweat from her brow. Kraz chittered in disagreement. "That could take hours we don't have. I could fly across, but I can't carry anyone." Zalthar, who had been quietly observing until now, spoke up. "What if we combined our abilities? Kraz could fly a line across. Then, using my exoskeleton's strength and Cinta's telepathic coordination, we could create a stable zip line for Rodriguez to cross." The team looked at him in surprise, then at each other. Slowly, grins, or the species equivalent, spread across their faces. "Not bad, Commander," Rodriguez said, clapping him on the back. "Looks like you're getting the hang of this teamwork thing." As night fell and they set up camp, Zalthar reflected on the day's events. He had faced challenges he never imagined, relied on teammates whose species he once considered inferior, and found solutions that would never have occurred to him in his previous life. Around the small campfire, carefully managed to avoid detection, the team shared stories of their homeworlds and their reasons for joining this unique program. Zalthar found himself opening up about his own experiences, his preconceptions, and how they were being challenged. "You know," he said, gazing up at the alien stars peeking through the canopy, "I've visited hundreds of worlds in my career, but I've never truly experienced them like this. You humans, you don't just visit a place, you immerse yourselves in it." Rodriguez nodded, her face thoughtful in the firelight. "That's because we had to, Commander. Earth isn't just our home. It's our teacher, our challenge, our proving ground. We learned long ago that the only way to survive here was to embrace the world in all its danger and beauty." As he settled in for the night, surrounded by the sounds of Earth's nocturnal life, Zalthar realized that he was beginning to understand the true value of this program. It wasn't just about teaching combat techniques or sharing technology. It was about fostering a deep, experiential understanding between species, forged in the crucible of shared challenges. The next day would bring more obstacles, more lessons, and undoubtedly more surprises. But as Zalthar drifted off to sleep, he felt a growing excitement for what lay ahead. He was no longer just observing humanity's approach to a death world. He was living it. And in doing so, he was discovering new strengths not only in his teammates but in himself. The survival exercise was far from over, but already, Zalfar knew that when he returned to the Galactic Confederation, he would never see the universe the same way again. Crisis and cooperation. The second day of the survival exercise dawned with an oppressive heat that seemed to sap the energy from even the lush forest around them. Zalfar's exoskeleton, designed for the climate-controlled environments of Confederation ships, struggled to regulate his body temperature in the face of Earth's relentless humidity. "You doing okay there, Commander?" Rodriguez asked, concern evident in her voice as she handed him a water purification tablet. Zalfar accepted it gratefully. "I'll manage. Though I must say, I'm gaining a new appreciation for why Earth is classified as a death world." Kraz, the Zentari cadet, chittered in amusement. "And this is just a normal day. Wait until you experience what the humans call extreme weather." As if on cue, a low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance. Cinta's telepathic appendages twitched nervously. "I'm sensing a disturbance. Something's coming, something big." Rodriguez's face grew serious. "Sounds like we might be in for a storm. We should pick up the pace if we want to reach the rendezvous point before it hits." The team moved with renewed urgency, their progress through the dense undergrowth a testament to how well they had learned to work together. Zalfar found himself naturally falling into step with their rhythm, his analytical mind now focused on identifying safe paths and potential resources. As the day wore on, the distant rumble grew into an ominous roar. The sky darkened prematurely, and a wind picked up that bent even the sturdiest trees. "This is no ordinary storm," Zalfar observed, his compound eyes taking in the rapidly changing environment. Rodriguez nodded grimly. "You're right. This feels like a supercell thunderstorm. We need to find shelter, now." But as they frantically searched for a safe haven, their comm devices crackled to life. Colonel Chen's voice, distorted by static, came through. "Attention all teams. This is not part of the exercise. I repeat, this is not part of the exercise. We're detecting multiple tornado formations in your vicinity. All teams are to cease their current objectives and focus on immediate survival. Rescue operations are being mobilized, but the storm is interfering with our transport capabilities. Stay safe, stay together. Chen out." A stunned silence fell over the group, broken only by the howling wind and the increasingly frequent crashes of thunder. "All right, change of plans," Rodriguez said, her voice steady despite the fear evident in her eyes. "We need to find low ground, away from trees that could fall. Kraz, can you scout ahead?" The Zentari nodded, his wings already buzzing as he prepared to take flight. But before he could leave, Shinta let out a telepathic cry of alarm. "Wait, I'm sensing distress. Other minds, not far from here. I think it's another team, and they're in trouble." Zalfar felt a moment of conflict. Their orders were to focus on their own survival, and the rational part of his mind insisted that was the wisest course of action. But as he looked at his teammates, he saw the same resolve in their eyes that he felt growing in his hearts. "We can't leave them," Rodriguez said, voicing what they were all thinking. "Commander, what do you think? You have the most experience here." Zalfar was surprised to find himself thrust into a leadership role, but he didn't hesitate. "You're right. We go together. Zinta, can you guide us to them?" The Quirrell nodded, their telepathic appendages glowing with effort as they pointed the way. What followed was a harrowing journey through a landscape that seemed intent on destroying them. The wind howled with such force that it threatened to lift Kraz off his feet, forcing the Zentari to cling to Rodriguez's back. Debris flew through the air, kept at bay only by Zalfar's quick reflexes and armored exoskeleton. They found the other team huddled in the inadequate shelter of a rocky outcropping. One of them, a Floraxian cadet, whose plant-like body was ill-suited to such violent weather, was badly injured. "We need to move, now," Zalfar shouted over the storm. This area isn't safe. As if to emphasize his point, a massive tree crashed down mere meters from their position. The ground itself seemed to tremble, and a sound like a freight train filled the air. "Tornado!" Rodriguez yelled. "Everyone, link up." In that moment, species differences became irrelevant. They moved as one, with Zalfar and Rodriguez supporting the injured Floraxian, Kraz using his wings to help stabilize them against the wind, and Cinta's telepathy guiding them towards safer ground. Through the driving rain and howling wind, Zalfar caught glimpses of the tornado. It was a monster of a thing, a writhing column of destruction that seemed to devour everything in its path. He had faced space battles and hostile alien species, but never had he felt as small and vulnerable as he did in the face of Earth's raw power. Just when it seemed the tornado would overtake them, Cinta cried out, "There! I sense an underground space ahead." They stumbled forward, half running, half crawling, until they reached what appeared to be the entrance to a cave system. Without hesitation, they plunged into the darkness, the storm's fury fading to a distant roar as they ventured deeper underground. In the relative safety of the cave, they took stock of their situation. The Floraxian cadet was stabilized, though still in need of medical attention. Their supplies were largely intact, thanks to Rodriguez's waterproof packing. But they were now far off course, with no way to contact the Academy. "Well," Rodriguez said, attempting to lighten the mood, "I guess this counts as experiencing extreme weather, huh, Commander?" Despite everything, Zalfar found himself chuckling. "Indeed. Though I think I prefer the climate-controlled simulations we use in Confederation training." As they settled in to wait out the storm, Zalfar reflected on how quickly their makeshift team had come together in the face of crisis. Species that would never have interacted on their homeworlds were now depending on each other for survival. "You know," he said, addressing the group, "in all my years of service, I've never seen anything quite like this. The way you all came together, the way you relied on each other's strengths, it's remarkable." The Floraxian cadet, his color slowly returning to a healthier hue, spoke up. "It's what we've been training for, isn't it? To see beyond our differences and work together." Zalthar nodded slowly. "Yes, but there's a difference between training and doing. What I've seen here, what I've been a part of, it goes beyond simple cooperation. It's a true synthesis of our various abilities and perspectives." As the hours passed and the storm gradually subsided, they shared stories, taught each other games from their homeworlds, and continued to learn from one another. Zalfar found himself not just participating, but actively enjoying these interactions. When rescue finally came, in the form of hovercrafts piloted by a mixed human-alien crew, Zalfar felt an unexpected pang of regret. Their ordeal was over, but so too was this intense period of growth and discovery. As they were flown back to the Academy, the devastated landscape below a testament to the power of Earth's weather, Zalfar knew that his report to the Galactic Confederation would be very different from what he had originally envisioned. This wasn't just a training program. It was the beginning of something much bigger, a new way of approaching the challenges of a vast and often hostile universe. And as he looked at his teammates, no, his friends, Zalfar knew that he wanted to be a part of whatever came next. The survival exercise was over, but for Zalfar and for the United Earth Defense Force, a new chapter was just beginning. Departure and new perspectives. The bustling activity of the United Earth Defense Force Academy felt almost surreal to Commander Zalfar as he made his final preparations to depart. It had been a week since the harrowing survival exercise, a week filled with debriefings, medical checkups, and intense discussions about the future of the joint training program. As he stood in his temporary quarters, packing the last of his belongings, Zalfar caught his reflection in the mirror. Physically, he looked much the same as when he had arrived. His exoskeleton still gleamed with its regulation shine. His compound eyes still took in every detail of his surroundings. But he knew that beneath the surface, he had been profoundly changed by his experiences on this Deathworld. A knock at the door interrupted his musings. "Enter," he called out, turning to see Colonel Chen step into the room. "All packed, Commander?" she asked, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. Zulfar nodded. "Yes, though I find myself surprisingly reluctant to leave." Chen's smile widened. "I'll take that as a compliment to our hospitality. Walk with me." As they made their way through the Academy's corridors, Zulfar was struck by how different everything looked to him now. Where once he had seen primitive facilities and quaint attempts at interspecies cooperation, he now recognized a vibrant melting pot of ideas and abilities. They passed a classroom where a Kuril instructor was teaching a group of mixed-species cadets about telepathic battle coordination. In the training yard, human and Centauri cadets were engaged in a joint obstacle course that played to both species' strengths. Even the cafeteria had been transformed, with chefs from various worlds working together to create meals that could be enjoyed by multiple species. "Quite a change from when you first arrived, isn't it?" Chen asked, noting Zulfar's thoughtful gaze. "Indeed," he replied, "though I suspect the biggest changes have been in my own perceptions." They stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the Academy grounds. In the distance, the scars left by the recent tornado were still visible, but signs of recovery were everywhere. Teams of humans and aliens worked side by side, rebuilding and improving the Academy's defenses. "I've been reading your preliminary report," Chen said, leaning against the railing. "It's not quite what we expected." Zulfar's antenna twitched in amusement. "I imagine not. It's not what I expected to write when I first arrived here." "You're recommending a significant expansion of the program," Chen continued. "And not just here on Earth. You want to establish similar training centers on other worlds, including Deathworlds from other species." "Yes," Zulfar said firmly. "What I've seen here, what I've experienced, it's too important to be limited to a single planet or a single program. The Galactic Confederation needs this." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Even though it means exposing more beings to dangerous environments, risking lives." Zulfar turned to face her fully. "Colonel, before I came here, I would have agreed with that concern. But now I understand that it's precisely those risks, those challenges, that forge the kind of bonds and innovations we need. The galaxy is vast and often hostile. We can't afford to stay in our comfort zones if we want to survive and thrive." He gestured towards the busy Academy grounds. "Look at what you've accomplished here. In the face of a pirate attack and a natural disaster, I saw beings from across the galaxy come together in ways I never thought possible. That's the kind of unity and adaptability we need." Chen nodded slowly. "And you think the Confederation will agree?" "They'll have to," Zulfar said with a newfound determination. "Because I'm not just recommending this program. I'm volunteering to lead its expansion." Chen's eyes widened in surprise. "You're staying?" "Not here specifically," Zulfar clarified. "But I want to be part of this. I want to help bring this approach to other worlds, to challenge others as I've been challenged. My perspective has changed, Colonel Chen. I can't go back to seeing the galaxy the way I did before." A slow smile spread across Chen's face. "Well, Commander, I think you've just graduated from our program with flying colors." She extended her hand. "On behalf of the United Earth Defense Force, I'd like to officially welcome you as a partner in this endeavor." Zulfar grasped her hand, mimicking the human gesture he had come to appreciate. "I'm honored, Colonel, and thank you for everything." As they turned back to watch the activity below, a group of cadets caught sight of them and waved enthusiastically. Zulfar recognized Rodriguez, Kraz, and Cinta among them, his team from the survival exercise. "You know," Chen said softly, "when we started this program, we hoped to teach other species about human adaptability and resilience, but I think we've learned just as much in return." Zulfar nodded. "That's the beauty of it, isn't it? True cooperation isn't about one group teaching another. It's about growing together, challenging each other to be better." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues that still took Zalfar's breath away. He felt a sense of excitement for the future. He knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be resistance, setbacks, and undoubtedly more dangers to face. But as he looked out over the academy, at the diverse beings working together to build something greater than themselves, Zalfar knew that they were on the right track. The universe was vast and often dangerous, but with the lessons he'd learned on this death world called Earth, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As if reading his thoughts, Chen spoke up. "So, Commander, are you ready for your next adventure?" Zalfar's antenna quivered with anticipation. "More than ready, Colonel. After all, we have a galaxy to change." With a final look at the Earth sunset, Zalfar turned to follow Chen back into the academy. His mission here was complete, but he knew this was just the beginning. The true test and the true adventure was yet to come.